Hey, everybody, and welcome to Brain Balance Live. We are here with Heather Wells from the Hidden Churn and also National Autism Summit speaker, licensed therapist, and also just an all-around great person who happens to be a certified cognitive specialist as well. So welcome to the show, Heather. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How about you? How are
I'm
you?
good. I'm good. Other than a little bit of back pain going into the summer, I'm all right. I'm hanging in there. I'm excited to talk about the subject today because I think as we go into summer and as our kids start to get a little more relaxed, they're not in their routine. Maybe they're going to camps, different camps, things like that. I think that when you get out of the routine and your kids are, you know, perceived as having a bit of a lack of motivation for either getting out there and doing something, going to the grocery store with you. I mean, this is a daily battle for me. And I have to remind my crew, hey, we're a team. We do this together. We all need to go to the grocery store together because I can't leave you here alone. It's not safe, right now, because we're too young. But ultimately, what we're trying to talk about today and the subject of today's episode is that this lack of motivation or perceived lack of motivation, it is more tied to the brain, not necessarily their attitude, okay, not their personality. They're just a lazy person, and it's not tied to laziness. Is that accurate, Heather? That's what we're going to be talking about today.
That is accurate. Anybody who watches these shows has heard me say so many times on a variety of topics that we want to avoid ascribing negative personality or character labels to neurodevelopmental struggles, and that
Mm.
also applies to motivation.
Yeah.
And kids are not born lazy. I mean, in in general, I'm sure there's probably an exception somewhere, but there is something in the way. Ask yourself, why is it happening? And we're going to give you a lot of the whys. And on the first slide, I start talking about how it is a brain thing. So, um, first of all, most of us are less motivated to do whatever it is if we have unmet needs. I mean, it could be something for us as simple as I'm hungry, and now I'm distracted by the fact that I'm hungry and I'm not getting after it on something I need to do. What are some of the most basic needs of our kids who have neurodevelopmental differences, ADHD, dyslexia, etc.? The respect of others, feelings of achievement, confidence, security, and not just physical security, but emotional security. We always talk about being the safe harbor for our kids. I've mentioned a couple of times that experts estimate that by the time kids diagnosed with ADHD are 12 years old, they have received about 20,000 more negative comments than those who do not have overt struggles, quote unquote neurotypical. So, all of the things we talk about all the time play into this. A secure brain, one that feels safe, is more productive, is better able to learn. A lot of our kids do struggle more, no matter, and this isn't even about intelligence. I Most of the time, individuals I know who are diagnosed with ADHD are some of the most intelligent people I know. There's a lot that goes into memory, connecting the dots, putting it all together, pulling
Right.
in background knowledge, etc. So the more I've had these negative comments, the more I am feeling defeated. How many times, if you have tried and tried and tried something, even those of us where our brains are communicating where they're supposed to, like, what's the point of this? I'm not good at this. Give up, move on to something else. I mean, we probably all had that moment from time to time. So understanding this, one other thing I'll say, look at this poor little brain here, just zonkered, right?
Yeah.
Another thing is, it is not always evident that they may ultimately get the job done. They may get the A, they may be the MVP, but maybe they are having to work this hard to do something else that the rest of us do in this mode. If I am sprinting, I am going to run out of steam faster. But looking weak or dumb is dangerous. I want to escape this. Individuals with neurodevelopmental differences, if you have kids out there with emotional dysregulation, their fight or flight response is overactive. Our fight or flight system is there to keep us safe. If you're walking down the street and somebody starts heading toward you and you get that gut feeling like he's going to try to hurt me, mug me, our fight or flight kicks in and we get stronger, faster. We think really fast to hopefully get to safety. But in individuals with neurodevelopmental struggles, they can go into that mode in the absence of physical threat. The threat is how I'm going to be perceived by someone else. Think back to our rejection sensitivity show last week.
Right.
So I'm going to escape. That's the flee. And then you see task avoidance and seeming apathy. That's what it can look like. Difficulty storing and recalling past success. Our memories are tricky in general. There was a woman with photographic memory who had a false memory of 9/11 because there was a chance that some of her loved ones were in those buildings, and she remembers seeing things that she literally could not have seen from where she was sitting when that happened. Now, take neurodevelopment into our emotions shape our memories, and then we remember something a certain way, and then it becomes our reality. So that is part of what's going on, but it's even more that literally fear leaves, and the feeling of failure leaves a bigger footprint in the brain than our successes do. Right. It takes 11 positive comments to replace a negative. So, and remember, perceived or actual rejection or failures. So there is also a lack of brain connectivity. The brain is not communicating. The left and the right hemisphere, the front and the back brain, different regions of the brain, they're all members of our brain's orchestra. It's not enough to have a good wind section, a good percussion section. They all have to play together in the same key, in the same tempo, or else the performance is messed up. In those with neurodevelopmental struggles, that is not happening. The different parts of the brain are not communicating. The tasks we're doing on a daily basis, almost all of them require multiple skills working together at the same time. I'm supposed to listen to what my parent is saying, notice the visual cues they're giving me. What are they pointing out to me? I have to organize my thoughts, pay attention, ignore the distractions, multiple parts going into this. Less brain communication to assess the task. How complex is it? How long will it take to plan? How am I going to attack it? Organize, prioritize. Working memory is usually much smaller in those with ADHD and other struggles. We have this mental sketch pad where we can hold a few pieces of information to get a task done. The more space that's taken up with feelings of defeat, feelings of overwhelm, that is using up part of that sketch pad. I can't remember all the steps of that multi-step instruction.
Yeah.
So then executive functions, that the CEO skills of our brain, the getting stuff done in life skills, are impacted here. So, and then another part of the brain is how many of you think, well, yeah, they're not lazy because I see them working hard at certain things. They want to be a good football player, so they go out and practice.
Yeah.
So they pick and choose that video game. They want to be good at it. They want to get to the next level. We do not have control over the chemical responses that naturally occur in our brains when we are doing things that we happen to find inherently novel, interesting. They are in our wheelhouse. Number one, if I'm doing something that I'm good at, I only have to work this hard at it.
Yeah.
It's so automated for me, I can do it much longer. Now I'm doing something that's harder. I'm working harder at it. It's so boring. What's the point of this? Dopamine, the rewarding, feel-good chemical, that is what ADHD stimulant medication does. By the way, ADHD stimulant medication only works on tasks that I find some value in anyway. So that is why you might say it helps in some ways, but not others. That is a well-established fact in the research. But I have less dopamine being produced when I'm doing the thing that I don't understand the point of, the thing that is not interesting to me. And so I am less motivated. It is not a choice. We all have things we enjoy doing more than others. How many of you love doing the laundry as much as you love going for a hike in nature or whatever your things are?
Yeah.
There are dopamine differences. There are other chemical differences. And those chemicals help communicate in the brain, get all those things working together. So it is a brain thing.
The dopamine hit was so strong from the video games at our house that we actually had to take them away recently. Not in a punitive way. We discussed it. I mean, I guess, it wasn't like because of this, whatever. Maybe it kind of was. I don't know, Heather. But the bottom line is, like, our boy was so raging mad when we took him away from his video games just to, like, come down and eat, or, hey, take a break and use the restroom, that every single week, we only had video games on the weekend and only a certain amount of time. And so what was happening is, like, the entire week was all waiting for that one moment. And Friday night, like, begins the weekend for us. So he would just, if we said that we wanted to go out as a family, or I had to go grab something from the store or something like that on a Friday, he'd be so livid mad because he's like, this is my game time and I want to, you're taking away my game time. And the game time is still limited no matter what. But it was just constantly making him always focused on just the games. And he has other interests. He loves composing. He loves writing music. He loves talking, to people. He loves doing, art projects. And so now his focus is on those things, which still give dopamine hits. But for whatever reason, he's not so attached to it that it's an addictive quality that is impairing his ability to be kind just at a basic level to his parents,
Right. Yeah. Think about any medication. Think about caffeine. There are a lot of things that people entirely avoid, or things you try to do in moderation. Same thing with dopamine. I mean, we have dopamine naturally released in our brains. And then there's that. And then there is the addictive level of it. There is a ton of research about how too much screen time, video games, they create the expectancy in kids that I should have this strong rush of dopamine. So anything that does not meet that standard, I'm not interested in it nearly as much as I was before.
Okay.
Nothing reaches that high. I even, on my newsletter this past week, I shared a research about how reading on screens versus reading books, how differently that uses your brain and how it can decrease reading comprehension. It impairs the functioning of our CEO center, or executive functions of the brain. For a lot of not to think about video games, they usually adjust the difficulty based upon how a child is doing. We can take a lesson from this. And so the kids feel successful because the game meets them where they are before they go to the next level. And so it doesn't feel too hard. I can keep going, and eventually I'm going to get to the next level. Sometimes we provide expectations to our kids that are way over here. I'm right here right now.
Right.
So we could take a lesson from that.
Yeah. Well, let's bring you back in. We've got our second slide here. And what are we talking about? Oh, shaming statements. Holy cow. It's so easy when you're not thinking about front of mind that you need to just kind of be kind to your, to your kids just in general. It's very easy to be rude. It's very easy to pass on a shaming statement, even when you don't mean to. Yeah.
Yeah. I think for anyone watching this, any of these would be unintentional. And I doubt if any of us could say that we've never said any of these things to kids. So this makes us human. And a lot of times we don't realize how these things are perceived. So these are specific to things that decrease motivation. Some of them are obvious, and some of them sound like we believe in our kids and we're being encouraging, and yet it can be interpreted differently. And this could come from teachers, parents, anyone. You're lazy, apathetic, stubborn. You have a bad attitude because they pick and choose what they want to do. And we have a lot of, remember, we talk about ruts of thinking. We have a lot of black and white thinkers, all or nothing. Everything's right, everything's horrible. It's this way or it's this way. You're saying this to me. I'm going to own that. I am who people say I am. So I'm a bad person. I'm a loser. We are giving them a reputation to live up to. You might, underneath that might mean that you have so much potential, but you're frustrated because you see all of these smarts. And if they were really trying, XYZ would be happening. What are some hidden churns in the way? But you have so much potential. That can be encouraging. And in and of itself, this can be okay, but a lot of times it's misused because potential is really about our expectations of kids. So are we talking about potential? Or are we talking about, we expect you to be the best at this. We expect this grade. We expect this performance. And now I feel like a human doing, not a human being. My worth is based upon how I perform. And also, that I'm a big fan of grit and perseverance. The research is undeniable about stick-to-itiveness and how powerful that is for social emotional growth, academic growth, and so on. However, we live in a world of success and achievement and trophies and first place in this and a bazillion extracurriculars. And a lot of our kids have the schedule of a C-level executive of a company. Monday is this, Tuesday is this. We've got golf, soccer, swimming, gymnastics. All of those things are fine and good. What can we say no to? And potential is more about helping kids figure out who they were born to be. What are their interests? Not us living vicariously through them, So we got to let some things go. Sometimes, okay, we had 6 tests. It was exam week, and we had to pick and choose. We're not going to get the gold star on all of those. Sometimes we have to pick our battles. Sometimes we have to pick which, let something slide. Maybe your child is out of gas, if only you'd apply yourself, and with or without comparing to a sibling or someone else. That's why I put that in parentheses.
Yeah.
What if they are applying themselves? Oh, they couldn't be, because I know how smart they are. And if they were applying themselves, they'd be making better grades. They made good grades last year. They just don't like the teacher this year, or they're hanging out with a different crew, that kind of thing. There are many pivotal years of school. Every year is building on the one before it, but there are certain critical years of school where there are big leaps. We're learning building blocks. And now this year, all of a sudden, we're supposed to put it all together. It's not enough to know the details or have rote memorization. Now I have to really apply it and understand it next level. A lot of our kids have difficulty with that. So think about, if only I am applying myself, I must be stupid. Or when we compare, I'm saying I believe in you. I see what you're capable of. This could be very well intended, but yet that's not usually how it's going to be taken. And we never, never, never want to compare one sibling to another. That creates really ugly dynamics there. It makes them think you love them more. And even if it's a favorable comparison, it's still not a good idea, because, oh, now I'm the favorite. Now I'm going to start mistreating them because now I think I'm hot stuff. No comparisons. This is similar, but you have some potential. You're so smart. I've shared, I think I shared this last week, but how do I not share it on this show? You think I'm smart. They are smart. You think I'm smart. You don't realize how hard I'm really trying. So I am not going to study for this test because I don't think I'm going to do well on it anyway. And that way you'll be mad at me for not studying, but you're still going to believe I'm smart. If that feels better to me, then you think how hard I tried and then fall short. And now you realize I'm not as smart as you thought I was. In general, anyway, we want to praise process, effort, a lot of neutral observation more than fixed traits about how pretty they are, how smart they are, because I can't change those. So what's the point of trying? So you're in high school now. It's time to take responsibility. Yes, there's truth to this. I'm not saying all of these in isolation in certain scenarios. There's a time and a place perhaps, but keep in mind that what matters is developmental age, not chronological age.
Right.
So you may have a son or daughter in high school who is 16 years old, but developmentally, and they might be an 8-year-old in some ways, a 12-year-old in some ways, 14, 7. So we've got to mesh our expectations with their development, what they are capable of right now. And any sort of age or gender-based comments are not great. Big girls don't cry, but anyway, I'm immature. Why am I? What's wrong with me? Why is everybody else more mature than I am? This is more about character. You should take this seriously. I meant to do it. What's wrong with me? You told me you were going to. A lot of spouse fights happen this way. That this goes back to, a lot of times it is unconscious emotions that guide our actions or our inaction. Here's a mistake we make. When we talk about emotions, we think of anger, happiness, sadness, we might think of certain emotions. Most of the emotions that guide our actions and our decisions and our inaction are emotions we don't even know we are having.
Yep.
So the one I'm aware of is pride. I think I can do this. I'm going to do it. I don't realize I have this underlying current of, I failed in this last time. That's dangerous. I'm going to avoid it. And then I get distracted by every shiny object, anything to avoid doing it. That goes back to the last slide. You always procrastinate. You never turn your work in on time. You always have trouble finding, you constantly lose everything. Any of these constantly, always, never. All of these overgeneralizing words, those will create defensiveness in those of us who don't have neurodevelopmental struggles. You might have kids who actually see things always and never in black and white. And so they are going to argue the point. I've shared a story before about how my boys couldn't see the forest for the trees. And I would be trying to teach them a social emotional lesson based on an interaction with someone when they didn't get their way. And they would correct a detail. That didn't happen at 6 o'clock. It happened at 6:07.
Right.
His shirt wasn't red. It was orange. I don't always procrastinate. Remember last year I had that science project and I started on it 2 weeks before it was due. And now we're not even getting the point of the conversation. Those are defense generating words for anybody, even more so for kids with neurodevelopmental struggles. Okay.
Next slide.
Yes, we always have to remember not just what we're saying, but how it's going to be perceived. Perception is reality.
I want to bring us back real quick, and I want to show you. Well, I'll put this back up. I'm going to add it to the stream, and then okay. So I wrote down a couple things. You tell me if some of these exceptions that I wrote, like alternatives that you can say and verbalize to your kid, would be helpful. So instead of "I'm a bad person" or "you're lazy," whatever, what if I said, "Way to go! I'm so proud of you." Right? How would that? I know that would light up my kid, like hands down, if he did something that I was proud of. Right?
That is excellent. And it's even to take it next level from that, even is to be specific about some effort you notice, progress, the process you used to do, strategy, like be specific about what, because then they learn more from it. You're going to light them up either way. They will grow more when you provide specificity. They need to know we love them unconditionally. It's not contingent upon these things, but when we give them specific praise, they want to emulate that. They want more of it. And they start learning more about the world that way too. I love it. Yes.
Okay. I got another one. Instead of "you have so much potential," "I know you can do this." How about that?
I would say that's sort of along the same vein. I like it because you're showing your belief in your child. Let's and this goes to something we're about to talk about on the next slide, but we're going to talk about doing asset inventories. You have this, and this going for you that are going to help you with this. What do you see that you have going for you that's going to help you with this?
That's what I was going to say. The next one, instead of like "be like your sister," I said, "Are you doing the best job that you can do? Are you doing the best job you can do?" And if you are, awesome, right? Because you can only do the best that you can do.
Right. That's right. One thing I'll say about that is that sometimes we're always talking about be the best you that you can be. And that sounds great. And how on earth could I say anything not 100% on board with that?
Right.
That goes back to pick your battles. And sometimes a 7 out of 10 is all the gas they have left in their tank, and so we none of us can be our best all the time. And even though that is not what a parent means, because we have these black and white thinkers, they sometimes will think if I am not 100% on all the time, I am not good enough. So right. The sentiment is there, but then if you have a very all or nothing, inflexible, one who struggles with cognitive flexibility, they may interpret it to mean that you mean you have to be 100% on all the time. And that is not what you mean or any other parent means when they say that.
Okay. Shall we move on to the next slide?
Yes.
Okay, here we go.
So what are some ways to increase motivation? All of these are evidence-based. I've shared some things with you about the brain and what gets in the way of motivation. Have that conversation with your kids. When kids understand that the things that they're struggling with, they're going to be so happy to hear you talking about, you know what, your brain is wired differently. And there's a whole lot of cool stuff that comes with that. You are so creative. You're so innovative. Remember that time you did XYZ? I love that. I wish I had more of that in me. There are also some things that can make it hard for you to keep going when the going gets tough. Or if it's a younger child, to be the little engine that could, adjust it to your kids and talk to them about the chemicals in the brain. And when you're doing something, you have all these happy faces that light up in your brain that tell you to keep going. They're like cheerleaders. And when you're doing things that are boring, little, grouchy faces get in there. This is not you. This is how your brain works. And now that we know that, there's some things we can do to help. So talk to them about the brain differences that impact motivation. Oh, now I am not a broken human being. There is a reason separate and apart from me that doesn't define me, that explains why some of this is. You don't think I'm lazy anymore. You don't think it's my attitude. Use success rating scales. So this is especially good for tweens and teens. Before they're going to do a task, I love this for summertime. I love it. If you give them a chore or any sort of responsibility, have them rank it on a scale of 1 to 5 on how difficult they think it's going to be before they even start. Have them rank on a scale of 1 to 5 how equipped they feel to handle it. Talk through why. After it's done, revisit. What are some things you think this is a 5 on difficulty and you think your capability to do it is a 2? And then you talk about assets and things that will come into play that will help them. What are some barriers you can help? What are some barriers that are in the way? What can we do to get rid of those? And then reflect on it later. And then you want to keep a success file. You need a physical success file. It can be journaling things, a parent-child journal. I love that so much. It can be things from school, depending on what the thing is, or if they get a positive review from their boss, if they have a part-time job in the summer or after school. And then when they are really feeling down, you pull out that success file and talk, what are some skills that went into you getting this done that you can use on this task? You have, that is a competence anchor. When they start thinking, I can't do it, I'm so stupid, I always mess up everything, you pull this in, you are giving them concrete evidence. They need your words also. They need all those growth mindset words. But here is physical evidence. So I know you're not just saying that to make me feel better. And then you're really using it to troubleshoot and problem solve. And you're helping them pull in background knowledge. These kids have so much less ability to pull in previous experiences that will help them in the next experience. Movement is important. We have an inherent need for it. But when we move, we are released. Guess what? You get a natural dopamine release. It regulates serotonin. It decreases stress. More oxygen, blood flow, glucose to the brain. It's not just because we're exercising and that makes us feel good. It's more than endorphins. There are many things that help the mental health with movement. Make sure you schedule in breaks. I know we're getting to the end of school, but this would apply to chores. It would apply to get all your chores done and then you can go play. How about 1 chore, 5-minute fun break? Things to give them something to look forward to. Make dreaded things into a game. When I have some like house chore that isn't my favorite, I play some of my favorite tunes and suddenly it's not nearly as dreadful. Have them make up music lyrics to learn facts for a test. What are some interests they have that will make it. We want to connect it to background knowledge and things that matter in the big scheme of things, but there are some things we're just not going to enjoy doing. What are some things to make it fun? Last week, I talked to Corey about coming up with a really fun song and everybody dances to the car. Since that transition was difficult, instead of get in the car, and everybody's just walking, do something to make it goofy and fun. How can you be creative? A lot of little ones enjoy 3 minutes. We got 3 minutes to clean up the den, in the evening, and the racer. How many toys can I pick up? Anything that makes it a challenge. Challenge releases dopamine. Some kids are going to get nervous by a timer, so then that's not for them. You got to adjust these to your kids. We want to pull in background knowledge. If they are reading a history book, this reminds me of that vacation we went on to Jamestown, Virginia. Does it remind you of anything about that? Yeah. If they dread math, show them how they can use that to calculate baseball stats, or to how much allowance do I need to save so that I can buy this thing that I want, and have them figure out the budget and how many miles per gallon we're getting on the family vacation this summer. Yeah. Make it relevant to things they care about, because when I get why things matter, dopamine lights up, I'm engaged, it's not as dreadful, and now I'm more motivated to do it. So, pull that back up with some of the other tips. Oh, can we go back? We're still on the tips. We talked about, elevate kids to decision maker. We have more trouble doing things when somebody else tells them to do them, or when we tell ourselves, you should do this. Should statements aren't great anyway. should and shouldn't, they can be very shaming. Sometimes if we didn't do something, there's a reason why, but then we beat ourselves up for a character thing. I should have done this. I knew better. But don't tell me what to do. Sometimes we even say that to ourselves. But what do you want to do first? How would you like to tackle this? Would you like to set the table or put the salad together? Choices, decisions. Have kids this summer, to start off the summer, create a vision board about some topic, some area they want to grow in. They can create a collage, cut out pictures, write words that mean something to them, and then set SMART goals: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. They're going to be relevant because they're setting them. But like little short goals to get to the big goal. I've done an entire SMART goals show. I have sheets I can give you if you want to fill one out with your kids.
Yep.
But when they have something to work toward, and then help them work backwards from there, how are we going to get there? You're growing their executive function in the summer. They won't even know they're learning because it's something they chose. We've talked about this: praise effort and progress, not fixed traits, not the end result. Minimize barriers and adjust info delivery. What is getting in the way? What can we do to help set them up for success? Help them learn how to remove barriers on their own, to draw on their assets by pulling in that success file I talked about. But if you have a constant battle of, they can't, I told them to bring me their dirty clothes, go out and take out the trash, feed the dog. If they can't do all three steps one at a time, visual reminders to go with the cues, slowing it down, giving them more time to respond, having a hand signal or a code word to make sure you have their attention before you start talking. So many times we're looking at what needs to change in our kids. What can we change as far as how we're approaching something to help them be successful? But be realistic in our expectations. Should I really expect them to do all 6 chores today before they can go hang out with their friends? What are they capable of right now? They're going to be capable of more. Growth mindset, the power of yet. We always want to instill a growth mindset. Ask kids, what was your favorite mistake today? Share what yours was. How many people ask that? What was your favorite mistake today?
Yeah.
Okay. Final slide. So much of this is born out of, I can't do it. That's even the title of the show. So what are some other ways besides building them up, avoiding shaming, and giving them neutral affirmations that move more into more positive as time goes on? Model it by celebrating successes and normalizing mistakes. I am so glad I went skateboarding with you today. I was kind of wobbly on it, but man, I'm so glad I went for it. And I know I'll get better if I keep going with you. Normalizing mistakes. I put too much cinnamon in this. I'll remember that for next time. Oops. You made a mistake. You're verbalizing it out loud on purpose so they can hear you being okay with that. What was your favorite mistake today? Validate all emotions. I know I say this all the time, but ask about their feelings. What makes them feel better? What do you think makes you feel better when you're feeling like this? I know your friend would kind of blew you off today. How are you feeling? What makes you feel better when you're feeling that way? Something that makes me feel better is to go for a walk, to listen to my favorite song and sing like nobody's listening. We want them to fill in those blanks as much as possible. And when they can't, we kind of prompt and give the keys they need until they learn to do it independently. Foster independence by suggesting kid-friendly activities and providing options. I mentioned the option thing, but what are some ways kids grow in self-esteem so much when they feel that you value their input? I love your take on that. I never would have thought of that. Respect their choices by demonstrating interest and appreciating differences. I know you're really enjoying this particular TikTok channel. What is it you like about it? It's all in the delivery, because why would you want to watch that is shaming. I noticed you're really into XYZ. What got you interested in that? Genuine interest, appreciating differences. You know what? That's how you interpreted the movie that way. That's so interesting. That gives me something to think about. The way I saw it was this, where, sometimes there's not a right or wrong. I value what you said, even if I ultimately have a different take. I might come around to your viewpoint too.
Beautiful. Holy cow. I always feel like I'm flooded with knowledge after these. Like, I just feel like I'm soaking it all in. And I hope to be like that guy right there in the middle of the picture. Here, son, let's take photos together.
I think you are. Uh, by the way, I have to say this. This is like parenting victory. Corey went to a birthday party with his kids on Saturday. He knew there was going to be a lot of unhealthy foods there that his kids' bodies are not used to because they live a very healthy lifestyle. So what does Corey do? We're going to make our own pizza before we go that has the ingredients in there that work for our bodies.
Yeah.
And, the planning ahead, he sat down and talked to them about it. And they had a voice. It was a conversation. I respect you and I'm planning ahead. This could be a thing. What can I do to make it not a thing? And then we still go and have a good time at the party. So
Yeah.
you are that guy, I think, and then some.
With pizza instead of a camera. Yeah, the kids did great. I mean, I was really happy. We ended up eating it in the car on the way there because I knew they'd be hungry. You're in the car, you get in the car, you're ready, you leave the house, all that stuff. And then boom, all of a sudden, they're saying they're hungry. And if you don't have anything right then, you're in trouble. And you're going to a party where there's a bunch of, regular pizza. So we had to make a pizza that was, gluten-free because Parker's celiac. Had to make sure that the pizza was, plant-based because we don't do any dairy in our family. And it worked out for the best. And they didn't even ask for dessert. Can you believe that? I had cupcakes. They didn't even care. And we weren't there for the cake. We had to come back for our dog. But ultimately, yeah, it was a dad victory. I shared that. I saw your comment. Thank you.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. I mean, parenting is hard and we're pulled in a million different directions. A little bit of planning ahead and predicting things. I mean, what a difference. And you had that conversation with them. So much respect, such a great relationship. I love it.
Thanks a lot. Well, good stuff. All right, listen, I'm going to bring the slides back in because we have to show you our final slide. And this is the most important thing. So if you want help, if you need help, if you want to talk to anyone, just and you're in the Texas area, specifically in the Katy, Mansfield, or the Woodlands area. I know Mansfield is across the map from Katy and the Woodlands. But if you're in the Texas area, you know exactly what we're talking about. And these are the phone numbers where you can reach an actual human being who will help you get in for a consultation to find out what's going on and really get to the root problem of what you're experiencing, the root cause, I should say, not the root problem, the root cause, and really try to fix it without the help of prescription medications, without interventions that are different than a holistic natural approach from someone that truly understands your child. I am a brain balanced dad. I've been through the program with my son, and it worked wonders for us. And we're still getting great benefits from, talking with Heather on a weekly basis. So I hope this show helped you. And of course, if you have any questions, please feel free to leave us a comment. We do check and reply to all of the comments on this video, on this Facebook page. So make sure you join us. Heather, anything else to kind of take us out?
I will say that through May, we are offering complimentary reading and attention screenings. We always offer complimentary consultations. There's just been so much coming out about increased mental health struggles, learning loss as a result of the pandemic, and especially with kids who are already struggling. And some of the struggles may not have been evident until now. But one thing I want to say real quick is that when kids go through trauma like the pandemic that qualifies as a trauma for kids, it's not just about the fact that the learning delivery was different. It is that the brain growth that was supposed to happen during the trauma didn't. And then things need to happen to get the train back on the tracks. And so anybody who could benefit from that, you want to be ready for the next school year. I wanted to offer something to really help families get on the right foot this summer. And Dr. Brian and I have had a little bit of a break for unrelated reasons. But we are going to be back Thursday at 1:00 with our Facebook Live also.
Awesome. Go join them Thursday at 1:00. That's Central Time, correct?
Yes.
All right. Thursday at 1:00 Central. Go join them for Dr. Brian and Heather. Yes,
and Chewy says hi.
Hi, Chewy. I don't think he can't hear me because I said it, but oh well, it's okay. Anyways. All right, everybody. Have a great rest of the day. Thanks for tuning in, and we will catch you next week right here.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great week. Bye.
Bye.